viewers, welcome to this session on privacy and data protection. This pertains to one of the program which is PG certificate in cyber law offered by School of Law Indira Gandhi National Open University. The program is a certificate program of 6 months duration which is offered 2 times in a year. You can enroll for January session or for the June session, and this is very important course which everybody should have knowledge of. Everybody is using online transactions right now. In this digital media today, we are using mobile technologies, various other communication technology devices, mobile phones. Maximum activities are happening online, but this has also led to many challenges. It has also given rise to many social debates. The notion of jurisdiction, that which we say that there is a notion of traditional jurisdiction, that has been also challenged, and there are lots of concern relating to privacy and protecting the data. Since everybody is using online transaction, so online activities which are taking place via cyberspace, that is vulnerable and it needs to be secured, and there is need that all the activities or the information, the data which we are sharing with the other organization, maybe for any purposes, that needs to be protected. So data protection is very important, because when we are submitting our information online for the purpose of doing purchases or any other specific purposes, so that needs to be secured. The data should not be processed without my knowledge or my information or my consent, and I should have a right to know how that data is processed. So invasion of privacy has become the major concern. As per the business today, it says that the data breaches are on alarming increase. If we look into the global rank of India, so India is coming to number 10 globally in data breaches. And if we only look into the Asia, then the rank is third, that we are on third number where the data breaches are happening. And mostly the data breaches are happening is due to the leaked accounts, where the personal or sensitive information is leaked. Now, there are various other issues also which are emerging from cyberspace when we are using the technologies and communication devices. For example, the issues of democracy, national sovereignty, or personal freedom. So when the people are sharing the information online, sometimes the information is not edited, and the people are, since it has anonymous nature also, so wide information is circulated. Maybe sometimes it's a fake news or a incorrect news. So how to maintain the balance between, one is the civil rights of a person, and on the other hand is the personal freedom of speech and expression, that becomes very important. Jurisdiction issues is always there. What should be the choice of law if the two persons are entering into contract? So what would be the jurisdiction in case there is a breach of contract? What would be the law which will be applicable? That is also one of the major concern. Then the consumer protection issues, user issues, like we all are e-consumer right now, purchasing through the virtual marts or online sites, one or the another things. We are purchasing not only goods, but we are also hiring services. So how the consumer is protected when we are entering into the online contracts, that is very important. Another thing is we are sharing the information. So there are many copyright violations also. So how to balance the intellectual property rights of a person and also the open sharing of the information, that also need to be seen. Then there are various cyber crimes which are emerging. Conventionally also there were many crimes like defamation or pornography. They are traditionally also considered as a crimes and were punishable under Indian Penal Code. But with the advent of technologies, the qualitative and quantitative impact of these crimes are also enhancing. And not only the traditional crimes are growing, but the crimes which are committed through technology, with the aid of technology, for example hacking on unauthorized access or modification in a data or a deletion of a data, email spoofing, phishing, so many crimes are also emerging. So it is very important that this cyberspace is needed to be regulated in all the aspects, and especially now the concerns for privacy has taken rise. So key concern or a key areas of concern we can say today is the privacy, data protection, and security. So these are the most important issues which need to be tackled globally and also in India. Now, when we talk about data privacy, we see in this digital economy, we say is that processing of personal data become omnipresent, because whenever we are going for any transaction, some personal details will we have to put it into the system so that the transaction becomes valid. So it become omnipresent where the processing of data is taking place. Now the issue is the organization which is using our data, how they are collecting the data, how they are utilizing that data, it has to be seen. So the main issue is that data should be accurate, and it should be approved data when it is processed. It should not be inaccurate. The organizations are dealing in collection, utilization, and processing of personal information. They directly, maybe it's directly or maybe it could be indirectly, then that data can be put into beneficial use, but unregulatory or arbitrary use of that data leads to invasion of privacy, and it could impact the autonomy of an individual also. So unapproved or inaccurate data has become a major security, major privacy issue concern, apart from other causes for the privacy concerns. For example, the data may be leaked from the health records or insurance records of a person. Maybe it may be of the criminal investigation proceedings, or maybe leading to my hereditary traits or my genetic traits, or it could be we are using locations, geolocation tags administration. So that is also a major concern, because our residency and location, it is displayed to the administrator. So not only this, there are many other concerns also which are taking place via use of cyberspace relating to the privacy. Maybe web surfing, when we are surfing, the cookies are used. So what they are doing is they are profiling you. So they sometimes you receive the advertisement via text or something that you can purchase this, because they have profiled your the way how you are purchasing. So they are doing profiling, what are the likes and dislike of a consumer. So but it should be with my consent, it should not be without my consent or without my knowledge. So my information should not be shared with others. So that becomes very important. uh, if if we say that no, data should not be regulated, or like in India, we have information technology act, but the new act has also emerged, because but we need to protect, because we need to protect the data, specifically data information. When we talk about privacy, it's not only the bodily privacy which we talk about, because I have right over my body, I have right to let to be secluded if I don't want to share my information. But my data which I am processing through various through virtual mass, or where I am giving to various private entities, how that is regulated and should be kept secure, that is also the duty of organization. Because if there is absence of data regulation or privacy, then it will impact the individual autonomy. There would be continuous surveillance, we can say. It would lead to profiling of individual. It would increase the surveillance, and basically unauthorized data access would be there. So that is not acceptable. So if we look into how this privacy emerged, it is considered as a fundamental right. In recent judgment of K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India in 2017, the Supreme Court held that right to privacy is a fundamental right. But there is a reasonable restriction which can be imposed on it by the government, which should be in a public interest. So it is not an absolute right, but some restrictions can be imposed looking into public order, morality, interest, sovereignty of the nation. So one of the issue arise was the Aadhaar case. So Aadhaar was upheld because it was contended that it might violate the privacy. But we say no, privacy is a fundamental right, but in public interest, certain restrictions can be imposed. So court upheld the constitutional validity of Aadhaar, but it struck down certain provisions which give access to the private entities. So they were private entities cannot ask for your personal informations or if even if they are asking, that has to be for the specific purpose and with your consent. Various reports on the cyber threats which are coming. Let us look into the recent report of the Cyber Edge, which says Cyber Threat Defense Report 2023, which points out that 85% of organizations suffered at least one successful cyber attack in a year. So you can look into the ratio, how much organizations are prone to now cyber attacks. 73% of the organizations were compromised by ransomware last year. What happened in ransomware is the hacker, they denied the services, and then they asked for ransomware to disclose that information or to open that particular services. So 73% of ransomware has been seen worldwide, and this 78 out of this, the 78% of ransomwares attack, they include threat beyond encryption. That means the data which is encrypted, that was also hacked. The security budget, it keeps on rising. So this year, overall 5% has been noticed that there has been increase in the budget for the security. Typical security budget is increased. Then there is many other reports by Apple, which is title itself as the continued threat to the personal data. So it is focusing on the personal data. So it is pointing out to what are the key factors behind the increase. So here I have tried to give the few insights, though it's quite extensive report, but how the threat to the personal data is continued and is increasing. So it says that there is a historic threat to the user data, that saw that the number of data breaches nearly tripled from the year 2013 to 2022. So data breaches pertaining to the user data has been compromised. It has impacted 2.6 billion records over the course of 2 years, and they are getting worse in 2023. So it's increasing day by day. In US alone, we can see that there were 20% more breaches in just first 9 months of 2023. In just this in 2020, in the beginning only, 20% hike is there. The survey findings which happened in 2023, it also shows that over 80% of breaches that involved data stored in the cloud. So we can say, data which is stored in a cloud is at the top risk, because the organizations are using the cloud services. So that is at the top risk of hacking. So most of breaches which has been seen globally is on the 80% is on the cloud services. This is, after attack targeting cloud infrastructure, nearly, we can say it nearly doubled from 2021 to 2022. Similarly, it's not only the reports are on, that the personal data threat is there or other threats are there, but it also accounts for the, cost. The cost of data breaches, is increasing, and it is not giving monetary loss to the companies or organizations, but it also leads to, loss of reputation. So the companies or organizations, business houses which face this type of data breaches, they have to suffer monetary as well as loss of reputation. The one of the report which is by IBM Security, it shows the cost of data breach which is happening worldwide. In India, we will focus little bit on globally and in India. Now the global average cost of data breach which is seen in 2023, it is US dollar 4.45 million, and it shows 15% increase over the 3 years. So it's keep on increasing. Then 82% of breaches involve data stored in cloud. So prone is the cloud services which we are using for keeping our data. So that is hacked easily, where the personal sensitive information of a person relating to the name, email address, contact details, residence address, sometimes the credit card details are also hacked. The cost of healthcare breaches is also soaring. So healthcare records are also breached. Average cost of data breach, if we looked into the Indian economy, that is 179 million in the year 2023. But if we look into, in India, it is a scattered way. Phishing comes into the number one where the attacks are taking place, amounts to 22%. What is phishing is like person is receiving a email from a particular organization or a company, and you feel that it is from the genuine source, but actually it is not, and the person shares the information assuming that the email has been came from the original source. So phishing attacks amount to 22% in India, followed by malicious softwares, which malicious software used, or where the viruses or Trojan horses are put into the system, use of security holes in the system, so that accounts for another 16%. Then social engineering is also at the topmost risk, and we can see there are so many million, for example INR 191 million were compromised, lead to the cost of this data due to the data breaches. Then malicious software has threats has been increased, which amounted to approximately 188 million INR. So we can see that the privacy issues are increasing day by day, the threats are enhancing, the cost of data breaches is increasing, though the companies are using the technologies also to how to resolve this data breaches issues or security mechanism they are deploying. But it is very important to understand that what is data protection laws or a data privacy concern or a data security. Sometimes we use the terms interchangeably, but when you talk about the data, we talk about the data protection, then it is basically the methods or mechanisms which are to be involved or used to protect the data. But the privacy is basically concerned with only protecting the how your data is used, utilized, collected, or processed. And security, however, involves how the data is secured, maybe by using encryption technologies or other technologies where nobody else can access. There should be a restricted access, and multiple overlapping systems should be involved. But still, we have just seen how the reports were saying, but let me give you some live examples of breaches in 2023 itself. Though we have seen from many past years, all there are various data breaches which is happening, but the recent one is, for example, X, the Twitter. Earlier also Twitter has faced many times the vulnerabilities, but this time also in January this year, any person can purchase their the details of the persons or a database of a user, or the email address of the at least 200 million user. They can purchase a dark web database. So though they have tried, they have resolved the glitches, but still earlier in 2022 also the Twitter faced it, and now also they are facing it, though they have taken the steps also to resolve it, but still the data breaches are occurring. Then in February 2023, we can see the Reddit is also victim to the phishing attacks, and the customer data, it lead to the breach of data of various customers, and there is exploitation of, we can say, their data are compromised, credentials to access the internal document or source code, employee data, and limited information about the company's advertisers were also breached. Then is even the next month you can see March, Chat GPT. Everybody is very excited in using Chat GPT, but there are also open source library of this Chat GPT. It led to the inadvertent error, and it exposed the customer data. So which the customer data includes here the credit card details, also partial credit card details, and the chat titles, which the chat which is happening, the chat titles were also disclosed. So similarly, the next month in April, we can say MSI, which is a vendor of computer vendor, it also saw was victimized by the ransomware attack, where his which resulted in financial losses, because this is, I think, 1.5 TB of data was exploited from their system, MSI system, and which include the sensitive information such as their source code, even the private keys which is used for decryption and encryption technique, and the firmware. So similarly, various a whole year you can look into 2023. Every month you will find one or the another data breach, which is a major data breach. For example, T-Mobile, in May, data breach occurred in T-Mobile. Then in movie, it also saw the, it also has to face the data leakage where 200 files were impacted. Then Roblox faced in July 2023. Then Duolingo in August. Then Sony itself in September. It also faced the ransomware attack, Sony. So data breaches keep on enhancing. These are the few examples which I have given you. The source is basically Analytic India magazine, which provides more details and insights into how these breaches have been occurred and what vulnerability has the hacker has exploited for the data breaches and how the sensitive person data of a person is hacked. So it becomes very important to understand how the data is protected. Now, if we look into the Indian aspect, Indian Information Technology Act was the law which was governing. So Section 43, Section 72, 72A provides certain provisions for data protection, and there are certain rules and regulations. It provides certain penal provisions and also the provisions for the damages where the computer source, computer network or is tampered with, or virus is introduced, or a data is modified, stolen, or there is a denial of services or unauthorized access hacking, then Section 43 can be invoked and the person has to pay the damages to the person who has suffered the injury. Similarly, data breaches or breach of privacy in case of lawful contract, Section 72 and 72A can be invoked. Then there are certain rules and regulations, reasonable security practices and procedure for this and sensitive personal data or information rule 2011, which is important. Then in 2021, new guidelines for intermediaries has come, which provides guidelines for the media, OTT platforms and the news channels. So this is to regulate the sensitive personal data of a person. Now recently in August, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act has been also enacted. It has been passed. It provides for how the data is to be processed, of basically how the personal data of a person should be collected, utilized and processed. So it provides for rights and duties for the data principal. That means a person whose data is used by the organization, and the organization is termed as data fiduciary. So it provides for rights and duties. It provides that one has to take the consent of person from data whose data is utilized, but on the other hand, it is also the duty of a data principal that he or she should provide the accurate information. It also provides for establishment of Data Protection Board of India. If any consumer, if any data user is not satisfied with the response which is given by the data fiduciary, that is organization who is collecting your data or processing your data, then they can file a complaint with the Data Protection Board of India. So this Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 provides for various things, which I think we can have a next session for that. Exclusively, we will discuss how the Personal Data Protection Act is protecting the privacy of the individual and how the organization are bound to deploy certain mechanism to secure the person data. Otherwise, they will be penalized for the data breach. If it occur, then they have to provide compensation to the person whose data is breached. With this, I would like to thank you all, and if you have any queries pertaining to our program PG Certificate in Cyber Law, or any student has any query pertaining to any of the course contents or any issues or any questions, you can always write to School of Law, Indira Gandhi National Open University. You can email at sol@ignou.ac.in. Thank you.